A couple of years ago, I did R3 in the Grand Canyon, so that's where you go rim to rim to rim, so you go to the other side and back. And it was a really fun day. I think it got roughly 50 miles and thousands of feet of vert. It was a pretty long, brutal day. But the next day is when I realized one of my favorite things to do in order to get faster, and maybe even not necessarily faster per se, but mentally tougher when it comes to running harder. And so everyone always talks about the physical, right? Like, this is optimal. This is what you need to do in order to build a base or get faster and tempos and intervals and stuff like that. And 100%, I mean, it's all correct, right? Like, there's certain ways to improve some sort of function or some sort of capacity in your fitness, right? And then there's these things that I think build the mental that at a certain point I think is more important to practice than the actual physical training or what's optimal there. I think it's important to, especially when you have some sort of base as an athlete where you are comfortable and competent and you kind of know what you're doing a little bit more than when you're a beginner, then you got to start training those mental functions a little bit better, or just the mental grit. And so after R3, the next day I went and ran, I think it was like a 10 miler. And there's something like back-to-back long runs are really good, especially when you're training for ultras. But one of the things I like to throw into back-to-back long runs is tempo and speed work on the second day. And I'll say this first. There's always a risk of being injured. Like, there's always a risk of hurting yourself, especially when you've had a crazy day the day before and then you decide to run long or hard the next day. You're also always at a risk of getting injured just in the gym or on a single run, right? And so I like this back-to-back long run, but with tempo the next day, because mentally it helps me figure out what it feels like in a different way than if I'm just doing tempo. So if you're doing a tempo workout, intervals, or maybe you're doing like a 10-mile run and you have a set of 3 miles of tempo, it's hard, right? It's always hard. Like, even if you're not doing tempo, running can be hard, but like tempo is hard, right? You're pushing your boundaries and you're going past the edge, right? Now, when you do that, but the day after a long run or after something that was very difficult, there's always this thought, at least for me in the back of my mind, where it's like, yesterday I did X. Like, yesterday I ran rim to rim to rim at the Grand Canyon, and right now, currently, I'm trying to push my edge. And so it just feels a little bit different as far as training just mental grit, and knowing that, like, I did something really, really hard yesterday, and now I'm doing something really, really hard today. And it boosts, I think, for me, confidence in just understanding that my body can do more than I think it can. And there's these memories I have of running like that the next day and in the past. And so when I'm in a normal tempo workout where I had a really easy day the day before, I'm almost better at that too, those normal tempo runs, because I know I've done tempo after a really long day. I ran a sub-3 marathon that same year, and the next day went for a 5-mile run. And on the third mile, I ran a 6:41. And it's not optimal. You should be recovering, right? And at the same time, I almost enjoyed that 1 mile more than my whole sub-3 hour marathon, because I knew what I had put myself through yesterday, and I still was showing up the next day for something hard. Definitely don't think you need to do this all the time, or after every long run you need to do tempo the next day, but I think it's nice every once in a while, and I especially love doing it after like races. Opposed to taking the day off, I like getting out there and going hard again, just for a little bit, not a whole lot. I know it's made me faster and stronger and just mentally fit. So I hope you got something out of that video. If you like running content, that's what I do. I'd love it if you subscribed, and if not, that's cool too. I hope you at least got something out of this video, and I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.